Hello everybody. Hi, my name is Antoinette Hunter from Amazing Growth. If this is your first time watching me, you are very welcome. On today's video, I am going to be talking about how to handle challenging behavior with individuals with autism. So I'm going to give you some key strategies for you to try, okay? Remember, every child with autism has a different personality and react to things differently. So they might not respond to the same technique and strategies that I'm giving you. But I have worked with these technique and strategies that I'm giving you guys in the classroom and in home with therapeutic sessions with families. So I'm welcoming you to try them. First, you want to keep a log, a behavior log. It could be a notebook, which is a diary. You can keep a form that you can make a form yourself online, but I like to keep it very simple because a lot of parents don't have time to go online and print out stuff such as form to help their child. The first thing that I usually advise my parents out there in the field or my families out there in the field is to keep a behavior log or a diary. It can be a notebook like this, just a simple notebook. I usually like to keep it very simple because a lot of times parents don't have time to go out there and pull information online, like making forms by themselves. So to make it easier for you with your busy schedule, just grab a notebook. It can be any notebook. Make sure the notebook doesn't have anything on it but the log that you're going to use for the child. So what I usually advise them to do is to first, you want to have the behavior. This is just kind of like a rough draft. You have the behavior, you have the cause, what happened before the child started acting up. So the next thing you want to do is to put the time that the incident or the behavior took place. After that, you want to write the cause of the behavior. So I'm going to go over it again just in case I'm jumbling everything together. First is the behavior. The next thing you want to write on the diary is the cause of the behavior. What caused the behavior? The third thing you want to do is what happened before that behavior took place. Then you want to write the time. And it's also a great idea to write what happened after the behavior. It would guide you to avoid future behaviors from occurring. Now, with the cause of the behavior, when you're writing down the cause of the behavior, make it very simple. I'll give you an example usually with things that I usually do in the classroom or working with the child one-on-one. There was a situation one time where I was working with a child, and this child really liked the activity that was going on. So I know that transitioning to a different activity was going to cause a meltdown. So in that situation, I kind of like make sure that I anticipate the behavior that was going to happen. So what I did was I had to get something else that the child liked, present it to the child before transitioning to something else, just to avoid the behavior. But there are times when you try to do that and that doesn't work. What do you do then? When you're transitioning, you bring in an item that the child likes and you present it to the child, it doesn't work. What do you do next? You want to also gauge giving the child signals. Okay, We're going to have 5 more minutes. We're going to clean up in 5 minutes, okay? I'm going to put a timer. You can use your iPad for a timer. You can have a little timer next to you and turn the timer. Ask the child to help you to turn the timer. Turn the timer and show them the time. So as the time is ticking, when it gets down to 5 minutes to 0, the alarm is going to come up. Then it's time for us to transition and clean up. That's going to minimize it. So when you start taking all of your notes and keep a log of what's happening, it will make it easier for you to transition. It will make it easier for you to learn some of the things that triggers the child to behave a certain way. The next thing is you want to rule out medical conditions or dental causes. You want to think to yourself, okay, is everything okay with this child? If you are a therapist, you want to ask the family if the child has been having, difficulties like crying or whining throughout the day. Because usually the mom would know if you're dealing with that child every day. When the child is not feeling good, the child will act a certain way. So from that information, you will be able to make a determination if this child is acting this way because this child is getting sick. Maybe this child is acting this way because something might be hurting this child. Once you rule out the medical condition and you're free from that, then you'll be able to make better judgment as to how to handle a behavior. The next thing you want to do, that's the third one, which is your response. How do you respond to this child when this child is having that behavior that is causing problems, maybe with the other siblings at home, or maybe it could be in the classroom setting? How do you handle that behavior? How do you respond to the behavior? So usually when the child is having a meltdown, you want to make sure the area where the child is having that meltdown is safe. That's your number one thing, safety. Because if the child is not safe, anything can happen. And the next thing you need to do is that I usually, depending on the child, I usually give them time. Give them time and ignore the behavior. And when they're okay, that they're willing to talk to you, then you can sit down with them later on and talk to them regarding what happened. So you want to respond with them with a lot of wisdom and also respect their environment. The next thing I usually do is after the behavior, when they come to you, then you want to respond with praise, a reinforcement, a positive reinforcement. Wow, Johnny, I like the fact that you're happy now, you're feeling better, right? It makes me so happy when you come to me when you're feeling sad, because I don't want to see you falling on the floor like this and hurting yourself. When you come to me, makes me feel really good, and I like to see that you're feeling better. You can give the child a hug. You can phrase it any way you want to phrase it, whichever way that would make the child feel better. You want to respond to them that way. And then also you might want to discuss why they did what they did, how they feel. What happened if the child is nonverbal and the child doesn't talk? The fact that the child does not use words to communicate, the child is communicating to you with gestures. So in a way, the child is communicating to you with gestures. So what you need to do with that, when that happens with that child, is to use visual cues. Have them at home and let them point to you or take a card. For instance, if the child was upset because they did not want to clean up, what you're going to tell them is that when you don't want to clean up, instead of falling on the floor, you want to let mommy know. You say, I'm not done yet. Get a card that says, not yet. It could say no, not yet, and then give it to mommy. And then maybe you can switch to say, okay, since you're not done yet, is it okay if I give you 1 more minute? After 1 minute, we're going to clean up. I love when you talk to me. I love it when you communicate with me. Very good job. I can't wait. Look, we're going to do something else really fun. That's when you communicate and you respond to the child in a very positive way, where they're not going to get upset and fall on the floor and cry and melt down and everything. The next thing now is communication, which is tied together with how you respond to the child. You want to communicate a lot with visual cues. Visual cues kind of help them to give them a clear picture of what you want them to do. Because when they are non-verbal, they are frustrated. That's the reason why they have meltdown. So you want to communicate with them in a very respectful way, where they understand, get down to the child level. Always use your finger, place it right under your lips or your chin, so that way they can see you and they can see you talking. When you're talking, they can read your lips. And then also communicating with them with positively, in a way, makes them feel better, and it also reassures them that you understand how they feel, you want to help them, and you want to work with them. They will respond to you better if they know that you love them and you're understanding their feelings and you're respecting them. They are going to respond to you much better. So that communication line is very important. Like some of the few communication strategies that I used with children is social stories. I use social story most of the time with children that are non-verbal. So how do I incorporate my social story when you're talking to a 2-year-old, you're talking to a toddler? It doesn't necessarily have to be drawings on a piece of paper. You can have animated figures and things that your child like to play with. You want to incorporate it into their play to do social stories. So there are times when I want to say transition to do a different activity. I want them to complete a simple puzzle and they do not like puzzle, and I'm going to communicate that with them with social stories. Sometimes I have a card in my hand, a flashcard with pictures of one activity of puzzle and the other one of picture with another activity without puzzle. So a like and dislike. The activity with puzzle is the activity that I want them to do, and the other one is the activity that I know they really like to do. This is going to be, we're going to negotiate with this. I'm going to say, oh look, I'm not showing them my bag yet. Don't have the toy where they can see it. Look, which one? Do you want to play with this one or you want to play with this one? Just an example. You want to play with a puzzle or you want to play with cars? And puzzle or cars. If they point to the car or reach out to the car, you say, very good. Okay, I know you want to play with the car, but guess what? We are going to do the puzzle first, okay? And then we play with the car. Yeah, are you ready? Yes? Good job. So hey, guess what? Come on. I have something to show you. Now open the puzzle in the back. The very funny, exaggerated facial expressions make it fun and interesting to engage the child in learning and attending to tasks that you want them to complete. So that's how I communicate with them when they're so little. Even when they're below 5 years old, just depend on each child. The next thing, which is the fifth thing, is using rewards. I use rewards all the time. Rewards are great. When I'm working in the field, I use rewards in the field. I use rewards in the classroom. What are rewards? Rewards are things that you will give the child when the child is performing the task or is responding to what you want them to respond to. So rewards can be stickers. Rewards can be a light where you say, okay, if you do this, I'm going to see. Where you can say, okay, you have the light in your hand, right? And on the other hand, you have what you want them to do. Whenever they put the puzzle in, you let them turn the light on and the light will spin and you clap, yay! That's one reward. The next reward is bubble. Bubbles are great. Kids love bubbles. Every time they put a puzzle in, good job. The reward is a bubble. You blow the bubble and then pop the bubble. So you're exchanging. There's an exchange going on. The next thing is redirect to other behavior. How do you redirect to other behavior? If the child is acting up, you want to distract them. That's basically what you're trying to do, creating a distraction that will lead them into a positive activity to ignore that behavior where that behavior doesn't occur. For instance, I have a child in the classroom where whenever we go outside to play, right, it's hard to come back inside. And I know that when it's time to clean up and return back inside the classroom, it's going to be a problem. So what I do is I redirect the behavior. How do I redirect the behavior? I go right away before I even give out the warning that we are about to clean up. I go right away to that child. I hold his hands and I play what he's interested in playing. For instance, if he's playing ball, I'm going to bounce the ball with him and I'm going to throw the ball in the basket and I'm going to be happy, yay! Then I'm going to let him bounce the ball and we're going to throw it in the basket, yeah! Then I'm going to say we're going to do it 2 more times. This time, I want to see you throw that ball really fast. So when the child picked the ball the first time and throw it in the basket, I will clap. The second time now that the child threw it in the basket, I will pick up the child and swing the child around. Yay! Let's jog. It's time for us to go. We go right back into a different environment, and then right away, once I remove that child from the tantrum and take that child into a different environment, I am going to give that child something else that will draw his attention immediately to distract him from the behavior such as meltdown and tantrum. That's when if you're having difficulties with transition. And this technique work at home too. Catch the behavior before it occurs, because if that behavior occurs, it's not easy for you to turn it around because they're already upset. So even if you're trying to stop them from not focusing on the behavior, they're not going to listen. The next thing is to remove physical and sensory discomfort around them. So if they have anything that is sensory and physical distraction, you don't want to have it around them. You want to remove that, okay? So that way it makes it comfortable for them to play in that environment. Next is prepare them for change. So before you transition to anything, knowing the child, prepare them, give them signal. Okay, Johnny, we're almost done, but I'm going to give you 5 more minutes, okay? You use the timer and give them 5 more minutes. And when the timer sets off, they're going to clean up easier. The last thing I need to tell you is pray. Prayer does everything. Some people might not agree with me when it comes to prayer. If you're a parent in the house raising your child, whether your child have autism or not, and you're going through difficulties with your kids at home, you want to make sure you implement prayer. on your personal time. Because when you pray, God is going to give you clarity as to how to handle certain situations that you yourself cannot handle. I pray all the time, even in the classroom, because it doesn't matter how educated you are. There are things you don't even have an answer to. You need the higher power. And the only way that you can get that breakthrough is for you to pray. So I tell people to pray, because when you pray, you turn your pain into power. You turn your esteem into power. Knowledge, understanding, discernment, transparency. You begin to see things that you would have never even thought about, ideas. So if you're having difficulties with behavior at home and you've tried everything else and nothing else is working, I challenge you today to begin to incorporate prayer, daily prayers, every day. Talk to God about everything, because He's never tired to hear you. Prayer is just talking to God. I hope this video really helps. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name again is Antoinette Hunter from Amazing Growth.